Hello students, welcome to my channel. This is Anamika Talukdar. Hope you all are fine. And this video will be for class 9. So I'm going to discuss about a new lesson from history, which is your fourth lesson, Forest Society and Colonialism. Now when we talk about forest society, what comes in our mind? It's about forest, right? So there are many things, many resources which we get from forest. Now what does it mean to be said as forest society? The society which was created, the management which was created, established for maintenance of forest, that was forest society. And who and why and when this was created, this was established, we are going to study it in this lesson. And when we talk about colonialism, it's about the party, the colonial party who came from another country to rule over the people of India. As we know that we were under British, so the British, they were the colonial party for us. And why this colonial party, they came here, the process which they started to maintain the forest, and the process which they started to maintain all the people of India, that was colonialism. The time which was when they came and when they started the system for managing us, that was colonialism. The period was said as that. Now let's start the lesson and let's talk about what we get when we talk about forest, what we get, the resources we get from forest. Almost like everything, like 90% of our day-to-day consumption, what we use from morning to night, maximum of the things we get from forest resources. Like the book which we use, that comes from the forest resources, the paper which is made out of the forest resources, the desk and bench in your school, in your classroom, so that also comes from forest. Even the cellophane wrapper of the chocolate, that also comes from the forest resources. So when we see our day-to-day consumption from morning to night, almost 90% of the things you will see that it comes from the forest. So how important the forest resources are for us and forests are for us, which we are not trying to conserve or save or protect as much as possible now. People are destroying for their own purposes, for the greed of the people, the resources of forest we are destroying now. So we should just conserve it, because as I said that almost 90% of the things we use from the forest resources. So we should conserve the forest resources. Now when we go in history and look back to our history, then we can see that forest in 1600 till 1600 there were more number of forests. But from 1700 to 1995, it was a period of industrialization when there were many industries which were established, and because of establishing more numbers of industries, then the resources of forest were needed there. And the resources of forest, when these were needed there in the industry, then the forests were cleared, forests were cut, and even for establishing the industries in those areas, the forests were cleared. So in that time, that was the period 1700 to 1995, as I said that it was a period of industrialization where many of the forests were destroyed. Not only for the industrialization purposes, also for purposes like pastures, for grazing by animals, and for other kind of purposes like for collecting fuel wood. For this kind of purposes also forest resources were destroyed. And the meaning of pasture is the food which is collected for feeding the animals, that is pasture. So earlier there were many pasture lands. So when the animals used to graze from one place to another, then also forests were destroyed. Now I'm going to talk about why deforestation started. In 1600, India's 1/6 of landmass was used for cultivation purposes. But as the population was rising, after 1600, as I said, that 1700 to 1995, it was a period of industrialization, and at that time the population was also rising. And for increasing number of population, food demand, the demand of food products were also high. Now the demand of food product, when it was high, so the area which were under cultivation, that also needed to be higher. So these areas, for getting the areas for cultivation purposes, forests were cleared. And at that time, why British, they were clearing the areas of India, that means clearing the forest areas, there were two very important reasons for that. First reason was they wanted to cultivate crops which are commercial, so that they could earn profit from them. So commercial crops like jute, sugar, wheat, this cultivation they were encouraging, and they were doing the cultivation of these commercial crops to increase the profit or to earn the profit from the market. And the second reason, which they thought that forests were unproductive for them. That means mixing of different crops together, these were unproductive for them, and they wanted to clear the forest areas where they wanted to clear the forest, and in those places they wanted to do cultivation of other crops, which were the commercial crops. So these were the two reasons. Also they saw that the population was rising, and to feed the rising population they wanted to do more cultivation. That's why also forests were cleared. So in my next video, I'm going to carry on the other parts of the lesson, where I'm going to tell you why the system of forest started, when it was started, and who started it, and how colonialism started. So for today, this much small idea only I have given. Go through it, and if you have any doubt, then you can ask me in the comment section. So thank you very much.